We welcome you to Österreich Ring for the Austrian Grand Prix. Good morning or good afternoon. I'm Bob Jenkins, along with former Formula One driver, now IndyCar driver, Derek Daly. Well, we begin today's Austrian Grand Prix with an exciting front row. On the pole for today's race will be Alain Prost, and he out-qualified the second fastest by about a half a second, Derek.
Unusual for Prost to be this far up because he's regularly said that this tag Porsche engine just doesn't have enough boost for qualifying situations, so he is in by far his strongest position this year.
And on the outside of row number one will be somewhat of a surprise in the Williams Honda, Nigel Mansell.
It's unusual for the Williams number 2 to out-qualify Keke at any race, but I think this just shows how strong this new Honda engine is in this Williams chassis. And Mansell, with a new contract in the last couple of weeks under his belt, I think he's got to be very confident.
The defending champion of this race is Niki Lauda. His 1985 season has not been successful. He is starting third on the grid for today's race, and there's rumors that he might be retiring after this season.
He has done it before, but Niki is the super tactician. If anybody can play the game properly, he will. And in this home Grand Prix, I think he's got to be sitting back and waiting for the last 15 laps before he makes his move.
The racing world was shocked last week by the death of Manfred Winkelhock. He, of course, was the Ram Skull Bandit driver in Formula One. He was killed in a World Endurance Cup race in Mosport, Canada. Manfred Winkelhock, 2 years of age. Well, the weather in Austria, partly cloudy, and the temperature 16 degrees Celsius. For those of you in the United States, suffice to say that it's very chilly here this morning or this afternoon. Well, the Österreich Ring is 3.69 miles in length, and Derek, you've competed on it a couple of times.
Indeed, Bob, it is by far one of the nicest road race circuits in the world. It's long and it's fast, it's wide, it's very demanding. It puts a premium on good horsepower because the straights are so long, but the corners are so fast and so demanding that the best handling chassis usually comes out on top here also.
3.69 miles in length. There are 8 turns, and as you say, a very fast course. In fact, one of the fastest on the Formula One circuit.
Silverstone has now actually taken that over. Silverstone is now the fastest. I think Österreich Ring is now second in line.
So we're standing by for the start of the Austrian Grand Prix, and we will have the starting lineup for today's race in just a moment. There are several surprises in the starting lineup. For instance, Ayrton Senna, who has done so well in qualifying for most of the other Formula One races, starts today's event in 14th position. So we will be back with the starting lineup and the start of today's Austrian Grand Prix from Österreich Ring right after we take this break for these messages. Getting set now for the start of today's Austrian Grand Prix. The starting lineup for today's race has Alain Prost on the front row in the McLaren Porsche. He qualified at a little over 155 miles an hour. Outside of row number 1 will be Nigel Mansell in the Williams Honda, car number 5. In row number 2, Niki Lauda, the hometown favorite in the McLaren Porsche, and outside of row number 2, Keke Rosberg from Finland in the Williams Honda. In row number 3 will be Nelson Piquet from Brazil in the Brabham BMW, and in the third row outside, Teo Fabi from Italy in the Tolman Hart. Another good qualifying performance by Teo. He, of course, was the pole sitter for the German Grand Prix. Fourth row, Elio De Angelis from Italy in the Lotus Renault, and Patrick Tambay in the Renault, car number 15. In the fifth row, Michele Alboreto, car number 27, and Riccardo Patrese, car number 22. Row number 6 will be Mark Schur, car number 8, the Brabham, and outside of row number 6 in the Ferrari, Stefan Johansson. In the next row, row 7, car number 16, Derek Warwick in the Renault, and Ayrton Senna in the Lotus, car number 12. In row number 8 will be Jacques Lafitte in car number 26, the Ligier. Outside of row number 8, Thierry Boutsen, car number 18, the Arrows BMW. Row number 9, Gerhard Berger from Austria, another home country favorite in the Arrows BMW. And outside of row number 9 will be Andrea De Cesaris in the other Renault, in the Ligier Renault. In the 10th row will be Piercarlo Ghinzani, who is driving the Tolman Hart, second Tolman Hart car this week, and Eddie Cheever from the United States in the Alpha, car number 23. In row number 11, Philippe Alliot, car number 10, the Ram Hart, and Stefan Beloff, car number 4, the Tyrrell Renault. In row number 12 will be Kenny Atchison, who has stepped into Manfred Winkelhock's car. Outside of row number 20 will be Ub Rothengatter from the Netherlands in the Osella. And in the final row, row number 13, Jonathan Palmer in the Zach Speed car number 30, and Pierluigi Martini in car number 29. Those are the 26 starters for today's Austrian Grand Prix, and the warm-up lap is underway. Alain Prost will be the pole sitter for today's event. Outside of him will be Nigel Mansell. There you can see a good panoramic view of this Austrian Grand Prix course near Zeltweg. Once again, there is your starting lineup. Prost and Mansell on the front row, followed by Lauda and Rosberg, then Piquet and Fabi, DeAngelis and Tambay. The interesting thing about Ayrton Senna, who is starting 14th in this race, Derek, he had a problem with his car yesterday, blew the turbocharger and had to qualify in his backup car, and he said it just wouldn't handle.
That's right. I know his quote at the press conference after qualifying was, if he went any faster, he would have killed 200 people. The funny thing is, although he's only in his second year in Formula One, when Senna qualifies so far down, people automatically know it's the car. They know it's not him. So people said immediately, well, what happened to the car?
And it's going to be interesting to watch Ayrton move up through the field if that car is handling well during the race today, because I'm sure he's going to be moving up through the field quickly.
The interesting thing about practice this morning, Bob, you remember Mansell was so fast on full tanks. Now, this qualifying really in Formula One at the moment doesn't really mean a lot towards the race situation, because you've got almost 1,000 horsepower on full race boost. You run about 5 or 6 gallons of fuel just for that one magic lap. But on full tanks on Sunday morning is when the true ability of the car and the machine and the package comes out. And Mansell was very, very fast under race conditions and race tires this morning. He could be the man that's going to lead this race and make the front running.
You're absolutely right. So often during the morning practice period, the best indication of who is going to do well this particular day. Well, last year, this race had a false start, and they had to stop and start again. We'll see if we have that situation here in today's race as the field begins to line up now, and we get set for the start of the Austrian Grand Prix. The red light, as you can see, is still on. When it goes green, the drivers will accelerate, and this race will be underway. There it is. The race is on. And the McLarens drag race each other down the front straightaway, and you can see some cars bottoming out there. Niki Lauda has grabbed the lead from his teammate Alain Prost as they go into the first series of corners here.
Mansell seemed to make it away in first gear, and as he selected second, he suddenly stalled, and that left a lot of room for Lauda to shoot through.
And one of the cars has failed to get away. That's the number 17 of Gerhard Berger, who is from Austria, and it looks like that he has had an incident with some other driver because the suspension on that car is broken. Meanwhile, back on the racetrack, it's still Niki Lauda, and one of the Williams Hondas is bottoming out rather badly here as the McLarens have the lead. Niki Lauda is the leader, followed by Alain Prost. Lauda has so much to prove in this race. The 1985 season for him has been nothing less than a disaster. And there's Michele Alboreto, who has failed to start this race and has already climbed out of his car. The crew's trying to get the car off of the racetrack. So a disappointment for the points leader in Formula One competition, Michele Alboreto. Niki Lauda opening up a little bit of distance between himself and his teammate Alain Prost as the rest of the field comes through the corner.
Mansell seems to be gone. We had about 7 cars through our picture there. I don't see Nigel Mansell at all, so maybe that was a terminal problem.
And the red flag is out because of the missed start. For the second time in a row, the Austrian Grand Prix will be stopped and restarted because of the cars who failed to get away from the starting grid. So we will be back with a restart of the Austrian Grand Prix in just a moment. Niki Lauda was looking good, but all that for naught. Will start again in just a moment. Here's a replay of what happened at the start of the race. You can see several cars coming in contact with each other. Gerhard Berger's car was the one that was badly damaged. You can see the tire off of that car, and so the race has been red flagged, and we're going to start again. Michele Alboreto, unfortunately, another victim of this incident here at the very start of the race.
from Michele's point of view, it's a good job that they have actually red flagged it, because he can now start in his spare car. Unlike the rules of IndyCar racing, where you can only start in the car you qualify in, he can actually substitute a car now and start in his existing position. So hopefully this Ferrari, the second spare Ferrari, will be as good as his original race car.
You can see the suspension damaged on that Ferrari also. Teo Fabi was also involved in this incident at the start, and his car is being pushed back to the pit area, and we'll see if Teo will get back in this competition in a backup car. So a rather bad start to things here in Austria, as the red has come out and the field will now have to regroup for the restart of this event. There once again is Gerhard Berger's damaged race car. It has yet to be pulled off of the racetrack. We are at the Austrian Grand Prix near Zeltweg, and we will be back with more in just a moment. Once again, here is a replay of the incident that has stopped the Austrian Grand Prix. Gerhard Berger failed to get away from the line and was hit by several cars, including that of Teo Fabi and Michele Alboreto. And so the race has been red flagged. The officials are trying to determine right now if that lap will count, or if the cars will be topped off with fuel and will have a complete restart. There is Niki Lauda's car. All of these drivers have climbed out of their machines because it will be 15, 20, perhaps as much as a half hour before this race can be restarted, so the engines are cooling down. One of the interesting notes as we begin this race, Derek, concerns Alain Prost. He is starting this race with a questionable CV joint and refused to go to his backup car. He wanted to start in his pole position, but there is a real question as to whether this car may last the entire distance of the race.
He seems to be fairly confident that it will, otherwise he wouldn't take such a chance. But it is one little question mark that will hang over this race. You see Berger's car here now also. Now the interesting thing here is the officials, as you said, are deciding whether they start a new race or whether that first lap counts. If the first lap counts, all these damaged cars can take no further part, obviously. If it's a new race, these teams can substitute their spare cars. So Berger can start again, the Alboreto Ferrari can start again, and Mansell. Now, we saw Mansell disappear very quickly in the first lap. He wasn't involved in the incident, but he didn't make it round in a competitive position on that first lap. Now, he can also substitute a first car. So I think for the sake of the race, and particularly for the sake of the World Championship, if they start a complete new event, it'll be better for everybody.
Well, it'll certainly be better for Michele Alboreto, who's trying to hold on to his points lead. There you can see the interview being conducted by Mansell, his description of what happened here on this first lap. But Michele Alboreto, with only a slim points lead going into this race, it's very important to him to chalk up some world points and maintain that lead.
Here's Nelson Piquet. He doesn't think that it's going to be a long delay, because he's obviously still stays strapped in his car.
Well, let's take a look at the point standings in the World Championship. Alboreto with 46 points going into this race. Alain Prost with 41, only 5 behind. Then there's quite a separation before we get back to Elio De Angelis, who has 26 points. Then Keke Rosberg with 18. There are the second 6, Patrick Tambay, Jacques Lafitte, Ayrton Senna, who has qualified well this year, but has only racked up 9 points as far as World Championship standings are concerned. So the wait goes on. The crews are looking over their cars, and the damaged race cars are being taken off of this racetrack. Track, by the way, is 3.69 miles in length. The race scheduled for 52 laps. That would make a little over 188 miles, but at this point we don't know whether there will be the lap that we had counted or whether we will start the race from anew. The past winners of the Austrian Grand Prix: Niki Lauda, of course, the winner last year. Prost was the winner in '83. De Angelis won this event in '82. Lafitte was the winner in '81, and Jean-Pierre Jabouillet in 1980. Going back a few more years, Alan Jones won this race in 1979, Ronnie Peterson in '78, Jones again in '77, then Watson and Brambilla. They have been racing on this track for 16 times. The very first Austrian Grand Prix was not held here, but they've been racing at the Österreich ring for the past 16 races. We will be back with more from the Austrian Grand Prix and try to get word on what they're going to do here. We've had a red flag, and we'll have a restart of the Austrian Grand Prix. Back with the Austrian Grand Prix, where we tried to get the race underway but had an accident at the start of the event, so we are under a red situation there. Some of the field now. There's Stefan Johansson's Ferrari, car number 28, one of the Benetton cars, number 22. That's Riccardo Patresi's car. Ferrari this year has been the winner one time. Rather, this year has won on 3 different occasions. Last year, only 1 victory for Ferrari, 4 in 1983, 3 in 82, 2 in 81, no wins in 80, and in 1979 Ferrari had 6 victories. But Michele Alboreto doing an excellent job in the Ferrari this year.
Always, he's giving us big lecture before in the briefing, and he has no reason to give us lectures. We're professionals, and they are not. They don't understand the racing the way they should.
Have you seen how did it happen, the accident?
Yes. Fabi in front of me stalled,
This is
and
Derek
De Angelis on the left-hand side also. I went in between Fabi and De Angelis, and then afterwards I had taken the start. I didn't care what happened behind.
Okay, thank you.
Who is that?
That was Patrick Tambay talking about the start of the event and the trouble that we had at the drop of the green.
It sounds, from what Patrick says, that they're blaming the drivers on everything. They're saying that the drivers somehow made a mistake and caused all this, because he was saying in his nice French accent about who are they to tell us how to drive and give us lectures how to drive. You can see how it's going to take some time just to clear up this carnage a little bit with trucks and cranes and etc. to get these cars off the track.
That is Michele Alboreto's car, which is being taken off of the racetrack. This is Nigel Mansell.
No. Nothing.
Mansell says he didn't see anything of the accident because obviously he was on the front row, so I'm sure he's happy with the situation that the race was stopped.
Derek, this must put a tremendous strain on the drivers. Here they were all keyed up to start the race, but yet they are red flagged and have to come back into the pit area and wait for a restart. Have you ever been under this situation, and if so, how does it affect the driver?
It does affect the driver to a certain extent, but once they can keep as many of the press people away as possible, it doesn't create too bad a situation. But in Formula One, there's pretty much a free hand for the press to mingle among the cars and drivers virtually as they wish. You see a nice little piece there where Bernie Eccleston, the head of FOCA, pushed away the microphone. If we could understand German, we'd know exactly what Nicky says.
Richtig. Nur, jetzt hätte man einfach Unfall, 2 Runden weniger Distanz und los geht's wieder. Jetzt können wieder alle Auto weg.
Absolutely, Nicky. I couldn't agree more.
Unfortunately, I don't understand a word he says, but this is Niki Lauda who is describing in his terms.
And we are live.
Start of the race. So the wait continues, and the decision yet to be made as to whether we will have a restart or whether that lap counts. We'll be right back. Well, next Sunday we'll be in Zandvoort, the Netherlands, for the Dutch Grand Prix as our live coverage of Formula One racing here on ESPN continues. Our broadcast time is 8:50 Eastern Daylight Time. Next Sunday afternoon, or next Sunday morning here in the United States, the Dutch Grand Prix. We are today at Oostenrijkring for the Austrian Grand Prix, and a couple of decisions have been made here. First of all, there will be a complete restart, so that lap did not count. And that's very important because the backup cars are now coming out, and that means that such people as Michele Alboreto and Gerhard Berger and Teo Fabi will have a chance to rejoin this race. Secondly, they are replacing the CV joint that we talked about in Alain Prost's car, so he too has a new lease on life here. Lots of conferences are going on amongst drivers and crews and race officials as we begin to show a little bit of breakup in our signal from Austria. Once again, let's take a look at this race course. It's 3.69 miles in length, and Derek, I think One of the reasons why this racetrack is so fast is because there are quite a few very long straightaways in which you can accelerate to, I'm sure, well over 180 or so miles an hour.
That's right. Some 10 years ago, when this was the #1, the fastest circuit in Europe, they put a chicane in called the Helle Licht chicane, which is now the first turn. And it's on the uphill section right after the pits, and we can see that quite clearly as soon as we get back and start racing. Then there's a long first straightaway leading into the Sebring corner. Sebring corner is a very fast fourth gear uphill corner. Again, lots of hard acceleration, and we then go downhill through a set of sweeping left and right corners. No passing here because the cars go from left to right, back to the left again. And the only opportunity to pass is when they come into the Bosch curve. Now, the Bosch curve is a very fast downhill fourth gear corner. Through to the Texaco chicane, double left-handers, and then the Jochen Rindt curve finishes off the course, finishes off the lap. Jochen Rindt curve called after the great Austrian driver Jochen Rindt, who was killed at Monza, I think, when he drove for Lotus.
The lineup once again for the Austrian Grand Prix, which has been interrupted by a red flag. On the front row for today's race will be Alain Prost, qualifying at over 155 miles an hour outside of row number 2. In the Williams Honda will be Nigel Mansell, car number 5. In row number 2 will be Niki Lauda, the defending world champion in the McLaren, car number 1. Outside of row number 2 will be Keke Rosberg from Finland in the other Williams Honda, car number 6. Then in the third row will be Nelson Piquet in the Brabham from Brazil. Outside of row number 3 from Italy, former IndyCar driver Teo Fabi in car number 19, the Tolman Hart. Fourth row will have Elio De Angelis in the Lotus, car number 11. Outside of row number 4, Patrick Tambay in the Renault. He's from France, car number 15. The fifth row, Michele Alboreto, car number 27, one of those involved in the first lap incident, but because we are restarting from scratch, he'll be able to bring his backup car out and run it. He's car number 27. Riccardo Patrese will be outside of row number 5 in the Alfa Romeo, car number 22. In row number 6, Mark Schur, car number 8, the Brabham. Mark is from Switzerland. And outside of row number 6 in the Ferrari from Sweden, car number 28, driven by Stefan Johansson. Row number 7 has Derek Warwick, car number 16, in the Renault. And outside of row number 7 from Brazil in the Lotus will be Ayrton Senna. The 8th row will be Jacques Lafitte in car number 26 and Thierry Boutsen from Belgium in the Arrows BMW car number 18. The 9th row has Gerhard Berger, who was also one of those involved in the first lap incident in the other Arrows BMW, car number 17. And outside of him will be Andrea De Cesaris, car number 25, the Ligier. 10th row will be car number 20, the second Tolman Hart car. Teo Fabi's teammate, former Osella driver from Italy, Piercarlo Ghinzani. Outside of row number 10 will be the only American in Formula One driving in the Alfa Romeo car number 23, Eddie Cheever. In the 11th row will be Philippe Alliot, number 10, one of the Ram Hearts. Philippe is from France. And outside of row number 11 will be the Tyrrell Renault turbocharged engine. He's from West Germany, the driver Stefan Beloff, car number 3. In the 12th row will be Kenny Atchison, who has replaced Manfred Winkelhock in the Ram Hart. He drives car number 9. And outside of that row will be Ub Rothengatter in the Osella, car number 24. He replaced Piercarlo Ghinzani for the German Grand Prix and has the ride for this race also. And in the last row will be Jonathan Palmer in number 30, the Zaxpeed, and Pierluigi Martini in car number 29. Now, Alain Prost's car, as you can see, is being pushed up through the field into his assigned starting position. And, Derek, they've apparently replaced the CV joint on that car.
That's right. He's made one exploratory lap to make sure everything is fine. He did stop on the back of the grid, but that was just purely so the mechanics could come down. They switched the engine off because there are just so many people on the grid now. You couldn't possibly drive through all those people to get to his position. But he can still start in the pole position. In Formula One, even if you do substitute a car, you can still start in your original qualified time position, unlike American racing where you must start at the back. So Prost, whether he starts in his race car or if he wanted to use the spare T car, he can still start from the pole.
Quite a bit different from the American rules, where if you crash, you have to start your backup car, you go to the rear of the pack. And I don't know, which is more fair? What do you think?
Well, I think it depends on the situation you're in. If you're on the pole, obviously you want the Formula One rules. I think whatever rules they are, whether they're European and American, when you start the season, when you start with the team, you have to play to those rules, and that's it. So I'm sure it goes for and against people.
Let's take a look once again at the incident that stopped this race as the green light came on. In the back of the pack, several cars coming together, several being damaged. Among the damaged cars, the Ferrari of Michele Alboreto. The most seriously damaged car, I think, was that of Gerhard Berger, the Arrows car number 17. Also damaged was Teo Fabi, but all of those drivers have brought out their backup cars and are getting re-gridded. Now there is Alain Prost, who is in his McLaren getting ready to go from the pole position. Back in the field, though, several drivers have not even gotten into their cars yet, so we're going to be delayed a few more minutes here before we get this car underway. Looking at the front end of the car there on Prost's machine.
Is that, you check the top end?
This car, you can see, is all black. This was the very first of the all-carbon fiber monocoques that were made for McLaren by Hercules, which is an American company here specializing in carbon fiber. And they also had a lot of work to do with the space shuttle. So Alain Prost sits in here in what a lot of people term as one of the most immaculate cars in Formula One. Everything is designed to fit. There's nothing made after the drawings are done. And John Barnard is one of the most strictest of engineers. And everything that goes on his car must be designed and finished and plated and immaculate before it goes near his machine.
Last year, Alain started in his backup car on 2 different occasions, and on both occasions he won the race. So this could be an indication of things to come here today. So far this year, Alain Prost has visited victory lane on 3 different occasions, actually 4 times, but on one of the occasions he was disqualified because the car was underweight. That was earlier this year in San Marino, but he has won the Brazilian Grand Prix, the Monaco Grand Prix, and the one at Silverstone.
These cars now are so ultra competitive that they actually run them as close to the weight limit as possible. Colin Chapman did some calculations some time ago about a 3-mile circuit, and 10 pounds in weight he reckoned was worth 1/10 of a second. So these cars are right down on the weight limit. And I know for you avid Formula One fans, this year particularly, when you see the checkered flag comes out, most of the cars pull off to the side of the road immediately after they pass the checkered flag. Now this is so as they leave as much fuel in the tank as possible, so as the car will weigh as much as possible at the end of the race, because these cars are weighed as they finish with the amount of oil, the amount of water, and the amount of fuel in the car. So again, at a race like this, where it's so long and fast and very hard acceleration, the engine works very hard here in Austria, you will see the same thing. The leader and the first 6 cars will probably pull right off the track as soon as the checkered flag comes out.
For those of you just joining us, this race started a half hour ago, but there was an accident at the beginning. The race has been red flagged. A complete restart will happen in a few minutes. Backup cars are being brought out. Drivers are beginning to get in them now, and we should get this Austrian Grand Prix underway in just a few moments. We had no injuries during the incident on the first lap, but several cars were damaged. We'll be back with more from Zeltwig, Austria, the Austrian Grand Prix, after these messages. ESPN kicks off its 2nd consecutive season of live CFA football action on Saturday, August 31st, with Pittsburgh at Purdue. 2 of the top quarterbacks meet in an aerial warfare. Live CFA action on Saturday, August 31st, as we begin another season of college football here on ESPN. Bob Jenkins and Derek Daly back in Austria for the Austrian Grand Prix, where the race has not yet begun. If you are just joining us, we did have a green light, but For the second year in a row, there was a problem at the start of the race, and so we will have a complete restart. There is Alain Prost, who is the pole sitter in today's event. He has brought out his backup car to run in this event because of a faulty CV joint that was detected on his primary car just before the green flag dropped. He did start the first time in his primary car, but since we have had the red, he has gone back to the backup car and will start it in today's race. Well, the pole speed here this weekend was a little over 155 miles an hour. It took Alain Prost a minute 25.4 seconds to negotiate this 3.69-mile track. And, of course, the race speeds are much less than that. But I think one of the things that is interesting about today's field is the fact that there is quite a bit of difference between the fastest and the slowest. About 11 seconds between Alain Prost and Pierluigi Martini. And it seems like there's a sharp break after Stefan Beloff, who starts in 22nd position. He qualified at a minute 30, and then Kenny Atchison, who's driving the Ram Hart in today's race, substituting for the late Manfred Winkelhock, starts 23rd, and he's about 5 seconds slower than Stefan Beloff.
The interesting thing we see now also is that there's such a huge difference in lap times between the last two rows. There's like 2 or 3 seconds between the last two rows and the rest of the grid, and I can only think that this reflects the amount of money these teams are allowed to spend or are able to spend, because Grand Prix racing now, in the era of turbocharged engines, really dollars and money mean how fast you go, and the teams who are at the back of the grid really are somewhat of the survivors of the Formula One circus. And the people like the McLarens and the Lotus and the major manufacturers like Ferrari, they don't really have much of a budget. They spend whatever it takes to win. So I think the amount of money in the budget also determines where these cars start and how much slower they are than people like Prost on the pole.
Niki Lauda has gotten in his car and is ready to go. Keke Rosberg also set to go, and the restart here of the Austrian Grand Prix. Will be right back. Teo Fabi is in his Tolman Hart ready to go. He is in his backup car. We have 4 backup cars now that have been brought out and will be restarting this race. Teo Fabi, whom you can see right there. Also in a spare car will be Elio De Angelis here in car number 11, the Lotus. Also in a spare will be Michele Alboreto, the number 27 Ferrari, and Gerhard Berger, who started in 17th position in the Arrows, will have his spare car. Now, Pier Carlo Ghinzani and the other Tolman apparently blew an engine during the first lap of the race, and so he will not be starting. We'll have 25 cars going here in the Austrian Grand Prix. There is Elio De Angelis, who will start from 7th position in the Lotus. Elio, of course, from Italy. Good look at the cockpit on that Lotus. The gauges and the steering wheel, and of course the Lotus logo in the middle of the steering wheel.
The red button you saw on the steering wheel there, you just see it here, that's the kill switch. In the event of, for example, if a throttle stuck open on a driver, the brakes are not enough to stop the car, so he instantly hits the kill switch and it cuts the engine also.
There's a look at Elio, who's in his 7th year of Formula One racing.
One of the most consistent drivers in Formula One. He can always be relied on to bring the car home if there's any way possible that he can make it. He did win this race in 1982 when he had a super battle with Keke Rosberg right down to the last corner, and he won the race by half the length of a Lotus.
Elio this year has finished in the top 5 the races that he has finished. He has had 2 occasions on which he has not finished the race, but has been in the top 5 in every race he has finished. And once again, you're looking at a replay of the trouble that erupted in the back of the field at the drop of the green. Cars involved are Michele Alboreto, Teo Fabi, Gerhard Berger, and Elio De Angelis. That caused the red flag and a complete restart of this Austrian Grand Prix. It's been almost a half hour since we had that incident Backup cars have been brought out, and now we are almost ready to go. As you can see, one of the Ligers there, the number 25 of Andrea de Cesaris, making a nice move to apparently avoid all that trouble that was in front of him. Well, the warm-up lap now is beginning once again, and hopefully this time we'll have a clean start of this Austrian Grand Prix. Perhaps we can get an idea, a better idea of exactly how this course is laid out now as the warm-up lap is underway.
This is the new chicane they installed about, it's 8-10 years ago now, called the Helle Licht chicane. It was put in really after the fatal accident to Mark Donoghue here, and Donoghue left the circuit as he crested the hill just here, and that was when they put the chicane in. They thought they just needed to slow these cars down a little bit. This little left-hand kink you see on the left side of your picture here, that's flat out top gear, very short dab on the brakes into this right-hand corner called the Sebring corner. It's a fourth gear right-hand uphill corner leading onto this straight here. I call it a straight. It does go right and left, but it is flat out, so we do call it a straight. Somewhat bumpy, very little passing here. You can see Prost out in front there warming up his tires, turning left, right. Now the cars go slightly downhill into the Bosch curve, another fourth gear corner, very, very fast corner, very important corner, because the really fast cars can get back on the power flat out just as soon as they turn in, so you actually round the corner with full power on and let the car drift right out to the guardrails just on the left-hand side. It then goes on down into the two left-handers called the Texaco chicane. The first one is slightly unsighted. You come up a brow, then the road drops away and suddenly turns left. It's the type of corner that you have to have an enormous amount of confidence in your car, because you actually have to turn and position yourself before you see it. You come out of those, you come up over this little rise here. Again, you come up here in fourth gear, it's all flat out, it's uphill, blind again, suddenly turns right at the top of the hill. You can just see the drivers turn right here. And then a nice little run downhill over some bumps in the braking area, down to the Rindt curve, again called after the great Austrian Formula One driver Jochen Rindt. The Rindt curve is a very demanding, bumpy, fast right-hand turn, which finishes the lap. You then go past the start-finish line, pick out your pit board, and start the lap all over again with an uphill climb.
Well, Derek, you've mentioned on several occasions this now is the second fastest Formula One course, and I would assume by that there could be a problem here this afternoon with fuel, because the drivers will be trying to get as much horsepower out of their car to stay in the lead, but when they do that, they take a chance of running out of fuel.
That's right. Unfortunately, they do have a fuel limit in Formula One, which has got its good points because you must develop the machine to use just that amount of fuel. But sometimes, particularly as in the Italian Grand Prix at Imola earlier on this year, it did cause 3 or 4 of the front runners to drop out. So I would hope that we can have a race flat out from start to finish here and no fuel problems.
Well, we'll see how Nigel Mansell does here. He got off to a very bad start when the green went on last time, but now we're ready to go. It's Prost on the pole, Mansell outside of row number 2, and now the green flashes on, and once again Nigel has a tough time getting off of the starting grid, and he is passed by Keke Rosberg. Now, number 2, Alain Prost, has jumped into the lead with Rosberg right behind him, and then Niki Lauda. Now, at this point, last time, Niki Lauda was the leader. He had passed his teammate, Alain Prost, but this time, Prost is in the lead.
Nelson Piquet made a very good start from row 3. He's now running in 3rd place.
Looks like that Elio De Angelis also had a very good start, as he has moved up right on the back end of Nelson Piquet.
Yeah, Piquet actually running 4th. It's Lauda that's in 3rd place. Prost, Rosberg, Lauda, Piquet.
And you can see once again that number 6 car of Keke Rosberg, the Williams Honda, is bottoming out at several portions on this racetrack.
Keke's a man who likes to lead these races, and he's very, very good at the first 5 laps of the race. Most drivers like to settle down and see how the pace shapes up. Keke likes to go hard right from the start, and you can see he's pushing Prost here as hard as he can. I think Keke will take every opportunity he can to lead this race.
Just about to complete lap number 1. Alain Prost, the pole sitter, has the lead, followed by Keke Rosberg. Then Niki Lauda running in 3rd position, followed by Nelson Piquet and Elio De Angelis as the rest of the field crest this little hill. And here comes Niki Lauda. There's the leader of the race. Lauda running in 3rd place as Alain Prost has the lead.
Oh.
Now, almost a spin out there. Naturally, we are going to see the Austrian television people key in on Niki Lauda, whom we are watching right now in 3rd position, and that's simply because he is from Austria. He's the hometown favorite. There are the first 2, however. Alain Prost in the lead in the McLaren, followed by Keke Rosberg. There's a good look at Alain Prost, who has won 3 times this year, who was disqualified from a victory also, who has 1 second and 2 third place finishes also this year. But strangely enough, he is not in the points lead. However, he is only 5 points behind. About to complete lap number 2. As you can see, Keke Rosberg is only about 4 or 5 car lengths behind the leader, Alain Prost. About 100,000 people are on hand for this race, and the weather has helped out considerably at the German Grand Prix. We had very poor weather. It was rainy and cloudy and cool, and although it's cool here in Austria, we do not have any rain threatening, and so the crowd is much better here than it was at the German Grand Prix, where the estimated attendance was only about 60,000, but 100,000 on hand here for the running of this Austrian Grand Prix. 2 laps have been completed. Alain Prost is the leader, followed by Keke Rosberg. Running 3rd is Niki Lauda. Back with more in just a moment. Back at the Austrian Grand Prix, you can get an idea there of how Keke Rosberg's car is bottoming out at some portions of the racetrack, and that is because there is so much weight in the car now because of fuel, and it's forcing the car to bottom out on the low spots.
That's right. They've got almost 50 gallons of fuel on board when they start these races because these turbocharged engines just use so much. You see Rosberg behind still throws up the shower of sparks. I can only hope that his skid blocks can withstand this, because usually after about 10 or 15 laps the load lightens and you don't get this as much.
Well, Bobby Rahaal's Indy car was doing that considerably during the running of the race at Elkhart Lake. And once again, there it is, the bottoming out that Keke Rosberg is experiencing here in the early stages of this Austrian Grand Prix. We go back and pick up on this battle for 4th, 5th, 6th, now 7th and 8th position as drivers are contesting for spots. There is Elio De Angelis leading Nigel Mansell in 4th, 5th, and 6th spot. And some bottoming out there also by, it looks like, the De Angelis car. There's the number 15 of Patrick Tambay as he leads other drivers through the course. Nelson Piquet running in 4th spot here in the Brabham. Right behind him is Elio De Angelis in the Lotus. Once again, the 3rd place runner, that is Niki Lauda, and now our leader, Alain Prost, who started from the pole and grabbed the lead at the drop of the green flag, and it looks like he has widened the distance between himself and 2nd place Keke Rosberg at this point.
Keke seems to be gone.
We do not see Keke
right.
Rosberg. There is Niki Lauda, so Rosberg is gone, and now it's a battle of McLarens up front.
This is almost a rerun of the '84 season when the McLarens were so dominant. Finished 1-2 many times, ran 1-2 many times. This is I think the first time this year.
And there is Rosberg going slowly on the course, so it looks like Rosberg's day is over here in the early going as he is headed for the pits. Keke Rosberg from Finland, winner at Detroit earlier this year, running in 2nd position in the first few laps, now comes in for a pit stop.
The McLarens look so dominant now that I'm sure after about 10 laps they will work out their fuel consumption as accurately as they can and possibly begin to back off. We don't really want to see this, but then winning the race, getting to the checkered flag is the important thing.
Well, of course, teamwork is very important in any sport, including auto racing, but Derek, in a situation like this, as we have temporarily lost our video from Austria, so we will take this break and be back with more. And when we come back, we'll talk about how the drivers and how the crews work as a team in Formula One racing. We'll be right back after these messages. Alain Prost is the leader of this race, and in the early going, his car also bottoming out, and so was Keke Rosberg's. But Rosberg has dropped out of competition now, and Prost continues to be the leader. Well, ESPN's live August auto racing schedule continues at Darlington with the NASCAR Darlington 200. Now, this is for late model sportsmen, and it'll be on Saturday, August the 31st at 1 o'clock Eastern Daylight Time. It's a big auto racing weekend in Darlington, as we'll have not only that late model sportsman race, but also the Grand National Race of Southern 500 from Darlington. Eddie Cheever's car smoking badly, and he has dropped out of at least serious contention here. Eddie Cheever, the only American in Formula One racing. This is Nelson Piquet now, who has moved up to third, and right behind him is the Lotus of Elio De Angelis. And you can see the Brabham of Nelson Piquet also bottoming out on this racetrack. Running right behind Elio De Angelis is the number 15 car of Patrick Tambay. Nelson Piquet running in third position now with the demise of Keke Rosberg. Piquet from Brazil has finished 4 times this year. He crashed during the race at Monaco, but aside from that, Piquet has had an 8th place finish and also a 6th at Detroit. He was the winner of the French Grand Prix, and he finished 4th at Silverstone. In the most recent Formula One event in Germany, Nelson dropped out of competition, and will once again take a replay of the Brabham bottoming out. Seems to be on that particular portion of the racetrack, Derek, that most of the bottoming out is going on.
That's right. That is particularly bumpy, and Piquet has a novel line into that first chicane. Instead of being on the left-hand side of the road, he pulls right over the right-hand side, and that's purely to try and miss the worst of the bumps. So although he goes way off the normal racing line, the track still seems to be so bumpy that it still causes this, what I think can be fairly serious bottoming out. You see Mansell here having a little look down the inside of De Angelis.
Mansell trying to set up De Angelis to grab away that spot. This is the battle for 4th position. De Angelis in the number 11 Lotus, and right behind him, the Williams Honda of Nigel Mansell, who started this race from outside of row number 1. And right behind him is Teo Fabi in that number 19 Tolman car. So Fabi looking fairly strong here in the early going.
This Tolman team is quite interesting because early on in the year they couldn't even get tires to go testing. And now a lot of people think that this is in fact the best handling chassis in Formula One at the moment. They do now have a tire contract from Pirelli. Pirelli tires have been developed mainly by the Brabham team this year, and Fabi was on the pole in Germany and is running very, very strongly here. So this is a good, tight-knit operation, and very good teamwork goes into this.
Last year, of course, Michelin announced that it would not be supporting Formula One this year, so basically only 2 tire companies supplying rubber for these race cars, Goodyear and Pirelli. Well, just before we broke for our last commercial, I indicated that we talk about teamwork in Formula One. Now, Alain Prost is the leader of the race with his teammate Niki Lauda in second. Would there be any work between the teams? That is, would Prost perhaps slow down and allow Niki Lauda to win this race if that situation arose, Derek, or is it everybody for himself in Formula One racing?
Very definitely. Last year it was every man for himself, particularly in the McLaren team. Ron Dennis said many times there are no team orders. Every man does exactly what he can. When Lauda won the championship, he did say that he would help Prost win this year. So I think there may be a little gentleman's agreement between Prost and Lauda, particularly as Lauda hasn't finished any races this year hardly. Prost is in a very challenging position for the championship. I think Lauda will back him up. I don't think Lauda will be that interested in winning his home Grand Prix. He's not the type of emotional man who wants to star in front of the home crowd. So I would think Lauda will play second fiddle to Prost.
Alain is the leader right now with his teammate Niki Lauda running in second position. There is Lauda right there. And the interval between first and second is about 3.5 to 4 seconds at this point. We will be back with more live coverage of the Austrian Grand Prix from Zeltweg right after these messages. The Southern 500 on ESPN live Sunday, September 1st at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. This is a very important race, especially for Bill Elliott. If he can win the Southern 500, he picks up $1 million in bonus money. Join us for live coverage of the Southern 500 from Darlington, South Carolina at 1 o'clock Eastern Time, Sunday, September the 1st. Well, here's how they're running in the Austrian Grand Prix. The leader is Alain Prost. Running in second spot is Niki Lauda. Then Nelson Piquet is third. Elio De Angelis is in fourth. There he is, followed by Nigel Mansell, and behind Mansell running in sixth position, the Tollman of Teo Fabi. That's the top six here in the early stages of the Austrian Grand Prix. Already out of competition, Keke Rosberg and Eddie Cheever. 11 out of 52 laps have been completed in this event. And we're focusing in on the Teo Fabi car, the number 19 Tollman. He was the pole sitter for the German Grand Prix, and somewhat of a surprise because of that Hart engine. Many people thought perhaps that the car wasn't capable of sitting on the pole position, but he did for the German Grand Prix. When the green light went on, Teo had a problem getting the car going. He didn't last very long, but now the car is performing well here. Bobby, of course, a former IndyCar driver. He came over here to the United States and captured the pole position for the Indianapolis 500 and competed in IndyCar racing. Finished second in the point standings. Then last year, after driving in the first few races, decided that he wanted to go back to Formula One. So after the Cleveland IndyCar race, he went back to Formula One driving for Brabham. That relationship ended after the season ended last year, and he is now with the Tollman crew. There is Piquet, De Angelis, Mansell, and Teo Fabi, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth spot. Now there's Michele Alboreto, who now is in eighth position. Alboreto, in number 27 Ferrari, he is the current leader in World Championship points. There is Ayrton Senna in the other Lotus as he tries to move up on this field. Senna started this race in 14th position after having some engine problems yesterday. He qualified the backup car and could only qualify it for 14th starting position. So Senna trying to move up through the field now and finish this event. Beautiful countryside here in Austria. There you can see the numerals as far as the leaders of the race are concerned. Number 2, Alain Prost is the leader. Number 1, Niki Lauda is second, and number 7, Nelson Piquet, running in third position. These cars here, Piquet, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth, have been running right together on the racetrack for the last several laps, Derek, but at this point, no change in position. They all seem to be content to follow each other.
That's right, and the interesting thing, we've now run, I think, 11, 12 laps, and Piquet's Brabham still bottoms that very badly in that front straight. He still takes that very, very wide line up the front straight, up on the uphill section. So maybe this car isn't quite set up exactly as you would like it.
Now once again, Teo Fabi, the car sponsored by Benetton, perhaps one of, in my opinion, the most colorful race cars on the Formula One circuit. It has basically a green color to it since it's sponsored by Benetton, but it's decorated with the flags of several nations throughout the world.
I'm not sure whether that color scheme was a design or a happening, because when Tollman came back into racing after missing the first couple of rounds, the car was white when it was tested, and I think a couple of various stickers appeared all over it, and now Benetton are becoming more and more involved with the team. There's actually rumors that they in fact may buy a share in the team. So I think you may see probably the Benetton green color scheme more in evidence next year. Mind you, the fast cars are often the pretty cars as well, no matter what color they are.
There's Alain Prost, the leader of the Austrian Grand Prix in the McLaren. sponsored by Marlboro. Interesting thing, Derek, in several of the European countries, in Germany, cigarettes cannot be advertised in any way. They have to completely get rid of any reference to cigarettes. Even in the hospitality suites, when cigarette companies have ashtrays, they have to tape over the name of the cigarette company because it's just totally forbidden in some European countries. Niki Lauda in car number 1 is running in second position as Alain Prost begins to lap some of the slower cars. Back with more in just a moment. We have had an accident on the course. Andrea de Cesaris has crashed his Ligier. However, you can see that he has climbed out of the car and apparently is not injured. But Andrea de Cesaris crashes his Ligier and is out of the race. It's like he tore up the front of the car pretty good, Derek.
It's not unusual for de Cesaris to be in this situation. I can remember, I think it was 80, 81, 82, when he drove for McLaren, he had like 18 accidents was his count for the year. He is a very, very talented, very fast driver, but his Italian temperament definitely does show itself a little sometimes, and I think here's another example of it just here.
And another example of how the home country focuses in on their own drivers as we are following now the Arrows, one of them driven, of course, by Gerhard Berger, who is from Austria, and the other Arrows driven by Thierry Boutsen, car number 18. De Cesaris has crashed on 2 occasions so far this year. In addition to his crash here today, he was a crash victim in the first race of the year in Brazil, and also crashed in the 3rd race at San Marino. Berger and Boutsen. There is Gerhard Berger, who is running right behind his teammate Thierry Boutsen. These drivers back in the middle of the pack.
Last year's Austrian Grand Prix was in fact Berger's Formula 1 debut here when he drove for the ATS team, and he had a very serious road car accident over the wintertime when he broke his neck, and there were questions over whether he would ever be a racing driver again, let alone be a Formula 1 driver again. You can see the marshals here got a little bit happy with the fire extinguisher and have completely destroyed the car that was, well, mind you, it was pretty heavily damaged anyway, so it probably doesn't make much difference.
There's a good look at Andrea de Cesaris. The car may have had a small fire, but in any case, the fire marshals have put in a lot of extinguishing material on it, and in addition to blue, the car now appears to be mostly white, at least in the engine compartment. I'm going to try to get this car off of the racetrack and get it to a more safe location. Apparently, Andrea just hit the dirt bank there, did not actually make contact with the guardrail, but simply hit the earth a little hard and did do a considerable amount of damage to that vehicle. The leader of the race, Alain Prost, in car number 2, his teammate Niki Lauda is running in second position. Prost has had the lead of this race since the drop of the green. And there is the interval between first and second position.
Lauda has set the fastest lap, 1:31.01, which in fact is a new track record. The old lap record was held from a couple of years ago by René Arnoux at a 1:32.53. So Lauda, who is catching Prost, has just set a new track record. We'll have to see. We'll let the race unfold a little bit and see whether there is team orders here, and whether Lauda does in fact want to try and take a win and take some valuable World Championship points away from Lauda here.
You got to feel sorry for Niki because, as he said in the interview that you heard earlier in the race, we talked to him at the German Grand Prix last week. The problem this year with Niki Lauda has certainly not been Niki Lauda. It's been car. Just very bad luck and strange things going wrong with the car and forcing him not to finish. He has finished 2 races. He was 4th at San Marino and 5th in the German Grand Prix 2 weeks ago. But aside from that, Niki has been a DNF for all Formula 1 races this year.
The strange thing about motor racing is you can get on a roll and either things begin to happen and one good thing happens after another, or else when something bad happens, you're finished, and that's what's happened to Lauda this year. Everything that goes wrong with the McLaren team happens to Lauda. Prost seems to be ultra-reliable and just sails away with competitive finishes. Lauda is in the doldrums this year so far.
We're watching watching Niki Lauda running in second position behind his teammate Alain Prost. Now, they call this time of year in NASCAR racing the silly season, and that refers to the fact that there are a lot of rumors about next year. And there is also a silly season in Formula One racing, as there is the leader, Alain Prost. Now, a lot of rumors circulating around the Formula One pits. What if Niki Lauda retires? That would free up a position in the McLaren, and as you can see, 16 of 52 laps completed. And the name being most frequently mentioned to step into the vacated McLaren, should Lauda retire, is Nelson Piquet, Derek.
Well, that's interesting because at this time every year, Nelson is among the rumors as he will move here and move there, but he likes Brabham, he likes Gordon Murray. They have a very, very good understanding among themselves, and that often makes for the final little edge that you need to win races. So, for me, maybe Nelson's time at Brabham was finished, but I don't know, I doubt it. They also say De Angelis may move to Brabham if Piquet moves out, which leaves a position open at Warwick, at Lotus.
You know, there are other rumors also circulating around the pits, and we'll talk about them as the race unfolds. Niki Lauda in the McLaren running in second spot. In third position remains Piquet. We'll be back with more from Austria in just a moment. Here is a replay of the Andrea de Cesaris accident that occurred a few laps ago. The car simply getting off of the course, making contact with the dirt bank. Andrea was quick out of the car, so no injury. Following that, a small fire did break out. However, it was quickly brought under control. The number 9, which is driven by Philippe Alliot here this week, has retired from competition as it's being pushed back into the garage. Other cars out of the race include Rosberg and Eddie Cheever. Rosberg was the second place competitor early in the race, but his event did not last long at all. The interesting, and there are the 4 cars that are out of the race, de Cesaris, Alliot, Rosberg, and Cheever. The interesting thing as we continue to watch this race is that Ayrton Senna, from his 14th starting position, has now moved all the way up to 6th spot. Niki Lauda in car number 1, the McLaren, continues to run second behind his teammate, and there is his teammate in car number 2, Alain Prost. And it looks like that the interval between first and second is definitely shrinking, Derek, as Niki Lauda is beginning to close in.
Well, I think Prost is obviously taking it a little bit easy because he probably knows he's not a major threat from Lauda. They will have to control themselves. They will have to make sure that they stay in this race. And I think we'll have to wait till he closes up before we can really determine whether he's going to have a go or not. Now you can see Lauda just comes into the picture there now as Prost goes into the first chicane.
There is the interval between first and second position. Niki Lauda, of course, a 3-time Formula One champion. He won the world driving title in 1975 and in 1977, and then last year by just half a point over Alain Prost. Back in 1979, Niki retired from competition. That following some very serious injuries that he suffered, but came back for the 1982 season and has been, as he was before his accident and first retirement, very competitive. Niki Lauda is the owner of Lauda Airlines, as a matter of fact, which runs charter flights out of Austria. And there is rumor, as we indicated, that he will be retiring from competition at the end of this year and devoting full time to running that airline. As you can see, the leader, Alain Prost, is catching up to the Arrows cars that we were following just a few moments ago. Thierry Boutsen and Gerhard Berger are running together on the racetrack, and he is approaching them right now. Alain Prost, the leader, has been since the drop of the green flag. There are the Arrows cars, and right behind them, the leader, Alain Prost. And almost got sideways there going into that corner.
Well, we spoke earlier on of him possibly taking it slightly easy. I think that little shot there proves to us that he is driving as hard as he can.
Prost, of course, from France, driving the McLaren with the TAG engine, which is basically developed by Porsche. And the car is running this year on Goodyear tires.
These three cars now that Prost is coming up to lap, the Tyrrell and the two Arrows, Lauda could possibly close up if Prost gets held up at all by these cars. He just got by the first one.
That's Gerhard Berger. Now right ahead of our leader is Thierry Boutsen in the other Arrows. And the Tyrrell, which is being driven here this weekend by Stefan Belov. Now the other Tyrrell, which is a normally aspirated Ford engine, did not make the race, and that's really to be understood because of the fast nature of this course. The car just did not have the horsepower.
The old Cosworth engine now has about 250 horsepower down in race trim than these new turbocharged engines. So really, although Martin Brundle had hoped to qualify here, there really wasn't much hope right from the start.
Now Alain gets by Thierry Boutsen, and the next car that he will lap will be the Tyrrell of Stefan Belov, who is from Germany. And he moves to the inside just past the start-finish line, crossing the start-finish line. And as is pretty evident, there has definitely been a tightening of position here between first and second, as Prost has had a little bit of trouble getting by the Arrows and the Tyrrell car, and now Niki Lauda is just literally a few car lengths behind. So we have a battle for the lead, it appears, shaping up here. Well, Lauda is caught now behind Thierry Boutsen, and now he moves to the inside of Boutsen and passes him. Now one car between our leader and second place. That is Stefan Belov. We'll see how Niki Lauda handles Belov. As you can see, it's about a 3.5 second interval now between first and second. There goes Niki Lauda around the number 3 Tyrrell of Stefan Belov, and now we will see if Niki Lauda can close in further on the leader, Alain Prost. You're watching live coverage of the Austrian Grand Prix from Zeltweg. Back with more in a moment. Each Thursday night at 7:30, the latest in auto racing, both results and news, as we present Speed Week. Now, Larry will have control of Speed Week this week. I'll be in Europe getting ready for the Dutch Grand Prix next Sunday. So watch Larry and Speed Week this coming Thursday night at 7:30 Eastern Time here on ESPN. Niki Lauda is running in second position. The leader is Alain Prost. We've completed 24 of the 52 laps. There is Lauda in second position. Third is Nelson Piquet, followed by Elio De Angelis, then Nigel Mansell, and in sixth spot now is Ayrton Senna. Teo Fabi was running in sixth spot for a while, but he is now listed as 13th position as Fabi begins to drop back. There is the interval between first and second, and Lauda, without question, is closing in on Prost.
We will definitely have a very interesting situation here in about 2 laps' time when Lauda catches Prost, as he obviously will. I'd love to know what the team manager is going to hang out on Prost and Lauda's pit board in the next 2 or 3 laps.
Well, then also the rumor department, we talked about the fact that the rumor is that Nelson Piquet will replace Niki Lauda in the McLaren should Lauda retire. That would free up the Brabham ride, and the rumor is that Elio De Angelis would move into that. And there is Teo Fabi, whom we talked about just a few moments ago. At one time was running in sixth spot, but has now dropped out of the race and is in the pits. And Derek Warwick is the rumored driver that would be moving from Renault to take De Angelis' place in the Lotus. So all kinds of interesting stories are floating around here.
In the Tolman pit, we saw Fabi just a couple of minutes ago. All the mechanics hovering over the engine compartment. This has been the Achilles heel, the problem with the Tolman and all the Hart engine cars this year. They just, for some reason, last year they came very strong. This year the engines are unreliable. The Ram Hart team have been known to use 7 engines during a race weekend. And again, we see the Tolman out. Now, the Tolman is the best chassis, but the Hart engine is the only 4-cylinder turbocharged engine in Formula 1. but it's just not reliable enough.
Oh, and we have Prost suddenly decking into the pits and relinquishing the lead to Niki Lauda. The crowd goes wild here as Alain Prost, the Frenchman, brings his McLaren in for a pit stop. They're changing front tires on that machine, also changing tires on the left rear. It's going to be a quick pit stop, only a little more than 11 seconds. However, that gives the lead to Niki Lauda, and boy, do the Austrian fans love that.
Now we have an interesting situation because Prost didn't lose very much time there. He's now on fresh tires again, so he could be about to make a charge up through the field.
Well, here's the pit stop. Lauda taking over the lead as Prost ducks into the pits at the last moment. The crew changes front tires, also changes rear tires. So he has 4 brand new tires on that car, just 11.39 seconds, and Prost was back out on the race course. But what a development as he has relinquished the lead to Niki Lauda, and Nigel Mansell's Williams Honda has pulled off of the course. And here comes Nelson Piquet in for a pit stop. So things are really happening at just about the halfway point in the Austrian Grand Prix. Nelson Piquet from Brazil brings the Brabham in for a stop.
The two McLarens did go away from the field at quite a rate in the first half of this race. Perhaps they did start on softer tires. Perhaps this is all strategy. We may see Lauda in the pits for a tire change in the next couple of laps. There is a problem with Piquet. There's a problem with Piquet. It looked as if he just came in for tires, but now the mechanics are feverishly, no, Piquet's out. He's finished.
Climbing out of the car, so Nelson Piquet, who is running in 3rd position, now is out of the contest. Nigel Mansell, who was running 5th, is also out. Piquet and Mansell were running together on the race course, so it could be that perhaps those cars touched, and that has caused the demise of both of them. But the story here is that hometown favorite Niki Lauda, the defending world champion, is in the lead. There is Alain Prost, who was the leader until he came in for a pit stop, dropping him well back in the field. He did not lose a lap, as you indicated, Derek, so with the fresh tires, we'll see exactly how well that McLaren performs. Niki Lauda, though, enjoying the lead at this point. And Niki has to be feeling good about this race. He won here last year, but the 1985 season has been a disaster for him. And Teo Fabi comes into the pits for another stop, throws hands, and he may be climbing out of that car and giving it up. We'll be right back. Back at the Austrian Grand Prix, Bob Jenkins and Derek Daly with you on this Sunday afternoon in Europe, morning in the United States. This is a big auto racing doubleheader day on ESPN, as later tonight at 8 o'clock Eastern Time, Larry Nuber, Jack Arruda, and Gary Lee will be in Pocono, Pennsylvania for the running of the Domino's Pizza 500 for Indy cars. That will be presented on a tape-delayed basis later today on ESPN, but we're live for the running of the Austrian Grand Prix. Senna now 3rd, followed by DeAngelis, Alboreto, and Johansson. So despite the fact that Alain Prost came in for a 10-second pit stop, he remains in 2nd position. And the interesting thing here is that Elio DeAngelis has dropped to 4th, and Ayrton Senna, who started 14th, has moved up to 3rd place, and he will certainly have to be someone that we keep an eye on, because Senna is one of the fastest drivers and most competitive on the Formula One circuit.
Interesting now, the top 6 has 2 Ferraris, 2 Lotuses, and 2 McLarens. These chassis are definitely fairly identical.
You know, Derek, we talked earlier about the money involved in Formula One racing, and it's interesting that some of these teams struggle to come up with enough money to even compete in a Formula One race, whereas some of the others are supported by millions and millions of dollars. There are the Arrows cars that are racing with each other, Berger and Boutsen. But there is a tremendous amount of difference in the amount of money that some of the teams are able to operate on, and others are able to only get enough to just enter a race.
That's right, and the people at the back of the grid still want to be there, because Formula One is such a huge track. traveling advertising circus almost, that they still want to be involved in such a prestige event. And the people at the front, they have unlimited budgets, because to win in Formula One, almost any, money can't buy a win really in terms. So whatever you have to spend really, it's worth it at the end of the day, because the prestige of winning such an event as this is really worthwhile.
And another interesting thing about how race drivers are looked upon in Europe, while baseball players and football players are basically the idolized sports figures in the United States, race drivers are in many European countries. Niki Lauda is a national hero in Austria, and that's true in several other cases. The Italian people very much are idolizing Michele Alboreto now for his performance in Formula One.
That's right, and as we watch the two Arrows drivers fight it out among themselves, you can see there's certainly no team orders here. I mean, they're just slipstreaming, outbreaking each other, doing everything possible to beat each other.
For those of you who just joined us, we had a crash at the beginning of this Austrian Grand Prix around 8:30 this morning, New York and East Coast time, as we replay some of the action that occurred on the racetrack a few minutes ago.
It's one of the Renaults. Looks as if the engine is blown, and it's either Warwick or Tammy. I think it's Warwick who just pulled it off. Derek Warwick from Great Britain.
Warwick was running in the top 10 when this incident occurred, but he has dropped out of the race. There is Elio De Angelis now, who is running in 4th spot. The leader is Niki Lauda. To recap just once again, we had a crash at the green light earlier today, and it damaged several cars, including that of Michele Alboreto, Gerhard Berger, and Michele Alboreto. However, the lap that was run did not count. The officials here in Austria decided that it would be a complete restart, and so everybody was allowed to bring his backup car out, and with the exception of Pier Carlo Ghinzani, who blew an engine in the first lap of the race, everybody was able to start again. Alain Prost led for the first almost half of this race before he suddenly ducked into the pit area for a stop, a change of tires, and that gave the lead to this man, Niki Lauda, who is looking for his first win of 1985 and is, as a matter of fact, looking for only his 3rd finish of the year. The question is he going to have to stop for fresh rubber? And the second question is, with 4 new tires on Prost's car, will he be able to catch him?
The interesting thing is we have De Angelis running in the top 6 at the moment, but yet Lauda is about to lap him. So these McLarens really are setting such a hot pace here that they are about to lap into the top 6 at the moment.
Lauda passes Elio De Angelis in the Lotus, car number 11. Puts a lap on him. Out of the race so far, Keke Rosberg, Eddie Cheever, Andrea De Cesaris because of an accident. Also, Warwick is out of the race, as is Nigel Mansell. Just a little more than halfway through this Austrian Grand Prix. Next week from Zandvoort, the Netherlands, the Dutch Grand Prix, as ESPN continues to bring you all of the Formula One races live here on ESPN in 1985. So with Niki Lauda leading and Alain Prost running in 2nd position, we'll take this. Be right back with more of the Austrian Grand Prix. Later today at 8 o'clock Eastern Time, ESPN presents same-day coverage of the Domino's Pizza 500 from Pocono, Pennsylvania. The Indy cars will be there. Mario Andretti is back from his injury. Rick Mears will be starting from the pole position in that race. Larry Newber, Jack Caroon, and Gary Lee will have all the action for you at 8 o'clock tonight Eastern Time. Well, here is Michele Alboreto. Car number 27, the Ferrari. He is running in 5th spot right now. Shown in 6th position is his teammate, number 28, and there you got a glimpse of his teammate, Stefan Johansson. There they are, the Ferraris running together on the race course in 5th and 6th position. Now, the interval between 1st and 2nd, Lauda and Prost, is listed as 26 seconds. There is Ayrton Senna running in 3rd spot. And the number 15 of Patrick Tambay, who is a lapped automobile.
Alain Prost has just set a new track record of 1 minute 29.4 seconds, and he is gaining just over a second a lap on Lauda, so with 26 seconds in arrears and just under that number of laps left in the race, I think this race is shaping up into a battle again towards the last 5 laps of Lauda versus Prost.
Remember, Alain has 4 new tires on that car, whereas Niki Lauda has the original tires on his car, so naturally Prost would be able to turn faster laps. The question is, can he make up the 26-second difference that separates the two right now? Ayrton Senna running in 3rd position in that number 12 Lotus. He is from Brazil, however lives in England now. His first Formula One race was at the Brazilian Grand Prix just last year to begin the season, and he was the winner at Portugal earlier this year. There is Michele Alboreto, the Ferrari driver from Italy, who lives in Milan. He is 28 years of age. Michele Alboreto has 5 Grand Prix wins to his credit, including 2 so far this year. The Canadian and German Grand Prix were won by Michele Alboreto. Right behind him is his teammate, young Stefan Johansson, who is regarded as one of the up-and-coming drivers in Formula One competition.
Stefan Johansson, very much the gypsy of Formula One racing, and the gypsy of motor racing in general. He just drove anything he could find. Here we see Gerhard Berger, another local hometown boy, out of the race. Very disappointing for the local fans here. Berger out of the race in the Berkeley Arrows.
Derek, when you were competing on the Formula One circuit, how many of these guys did you drive against, and who were your most formidable opponents back then?
Just about everybody on the grid here was there when I raced there last in 1982. I think different drivers become the people to aim at in different years purely because of the cars they drive. Although I have to say, Prost and Piquet were always regarded by me anyway as being pretty much the top of the tree. They always seemed to get themselves in good cars, good competitive situations, and you could always be relied on them to be 2 of the most competitive drivers in the race. There's another new track record for Prost, 1:29.38. That takes, I think, nearly 4 seconds off the existing lap record by Arnoux, which is 1:33, nearly 5 seconds.
And that's almost qualifying speed. 1:25.49 was the qualifying speed of Prost, and he's doing a 1:29 now, so it's only about 4 seconds slower than he qualified. Once again, the car of Gerhard Berger. There is Alain Prost moving up, closing in on the leader, Niki Lauda. Which do you enjoy better, Formula One or IndyCar racing, Derek?
Oh, at the moment, I'd have to say I enjoy IndyCar racing. I enjoyed my 5 years of Formula One, but when I came to Phoenix at the end of '82 and saw IndyCars for the first time, they just had something different that I liked, and I came here and I liked the people so much that I'm about to become almost a full-time resident of America. So I really like the IndyCar racing at the moment.
You know, John Bizignano posed an interesting question to me during the German Grand Prix 2 weeks ago, in which he asked, why are the Formula One drivers, and there you can see the interval was 26 seconds not too long ago, and now it's down to just a little over 17. He asked why the Formula One drivers are able to come over here to the United States and be so successful. And we'll have you answer that question when we come back after this pause for a message. The leader is Niki Lauda, but closing in is Alain Prost. We'll be right back. 37 out of 52 laps have been completed in the Austrian Grand Prix. The leader, Niki Lauda, the number 1 McLaren. Second place, now about 16 seconds behind, is Alain Prost in the other McLaren. Ayrton Senna, who started 14th in the Lotus, has moved up to 3rd spot. Running in 4th is the other Lotus, Elio De Angelis. Then the 2 Ferraris, Michele Alboreto 5th, and Stefan Johansson is running in 6th spot. Well, we'll have you answer the question now. Why are Formula One drivers able to come over to the United States and be so successful? Teo Fabi was, Emerson Fittipaldi, who has already won a race on the IndyCar circuit this year on an oval, no less. Why do you think, Derek?
I think the main reason is because they come from a road racing background, and there is no doubt that road racers can become oval track racers a lot easier than the other way around. And I think coming from Formula One background, you come from a lot of testing, a lot of development background, so I think it all serves well over here.
There you can see the standings, and Elio De Angelis just in the past couple of laps has fallen from 4th spot to 6th. So both of the Ferraris, Alboreto and Johansson, have passed De Angelis, dropping him to a 6th position. There is Niki Lauda from Austria, driving in front of the home crowd. And when he took the lead a few laps ago from Alain Prost, when Prost came in for a pit stop, the crowd went wild, and you can imagine what it's going to be if Niki should hold on for the win here this afternoon. But he has his hands full. There's no question about it. Right now, it isn't real obvious because there still is a separation of about 16 seconds, but we've got 15 more laps to go or so, and Prost is reeling him in, so to speak.
I wonder, will fuel consumption come into play? Because, oh, here we have somebody that has plenty of fuel left but hasn't got any engine left. But fuel consumption could come into play here, because obviously Prost will now be running extremely hard to catch Lauda, and that's what's going to use the fuel. So I don't see how a driver in a situation that he's in can possibly back off. He's got to go hard and just hope and pray that he makes it on the amount of fuel that he's got in the car.
Just a moment ago, you saw a car smoking around the course. That was Pierluigi Martini in the Minardi. And that car has certainly had its problems throughout the 1985 Formula One season. It has only finished one race. That was the German Grand Prix, in which it placed 11th. And it looks like they have engine problems in that car again here in Austria. Lauda the leader.
An interesting shot here we have from our Austrian director. Obviously, I think he's probably looking for Niki Lauda to appear, or else there must be something going on down just below the hill there that we can't quite see. I see a man with the yellow flag, which indicates there may be a problem with somebody down there. Here we go.
There is Prost, and it could be that Niki Lauda has come into the pits and is out of the race, at least temporarily. We are unable to see. Yes, he is. Lauda is out of the race. He is out of the race car and walking to his motorhome. So what a development this is. Niki Lauda drops out of competition while leading before the home crowd here in Austria. And that gives the lead back to Alain Prost. And one would think, with the tires that Prost put on not too many laps ago, that he is going to run away with this race, because he was catching Niki at a rate of about a second per lap. And now running in second place would have to be Ayrton Senna. Senna has not changed tires since the beginning of the race. So if this car holds together, Prost has himself a win, it would seem, here in Austria.
And now we have Alboreto back up into 3rd place. So the two people battling for this World Championship are again running at the head of the field. Two World Championship leaders in the top 3 positions.
There you can see the McLaren crew poised for a pit stop. I don't know whether Prost is thinking about stopping again for tires, or whether the crew is just ready in case he does suddenly dart into the pits.
That's right. This would be just a formality to try and cover all bases, make sure they have everything ready just in case they can, because they can do a tire stop in 10 seconds, and he has well over 10 seconds over Senna at the moment.
Of course, the Formula One cars are not allowed to refuel. They must run the entire distance on the amount of fuel that they're given at the beginning of the race. And Derek, that's one rule that I like very much. Do you have any feelings about that?
Particularly in Formula One, it's too dangerous to refuel. They don't have the same safety precautions as we do have here in IndyCar racing. And there were very many flash fires during some of the pit stops last year. And also there are so many people, corporate sponsors, promotional people, pressmen allowed in the pit lane, and it's just too dangerous to have these cars darting in for fuel top-ups and then get back out into the race again.
I think that was one of the most surprising things about Formula One racing when I visited a Formula One race for the first time. Whereas in IndyCar racing, you cannot, for instance, cross from the inside to the outside of pit lane. One has free roaming in the pit lane at Formula One races. You can walk back and forth between the inside and outside wall and really have free reign of the entire pit area. There is second place now, Ayrton Senna, car number 12, the Lotus. The leader is Alain Prost, running in second position now is Ayrton Senna as Austrian Grand Prix begins to live coverage of the Austrian Grand Prix. They're the top six: Prost, Senna, Alboreto, Johansson, De Angelis, and Mark Suhr, who has moved into sixth spot in the Brabham. Senna beginning to lap some of the slower cars, putting a lap there on Jacques Lafitte in car number 26. Jacques with outstanding performances the previous two races. He has two third-place finishes in the Silverstone and the German Grand Prix, but Lafitte's car not running up to expectations here in the Austrian Grand Prix. There is Ayrton Senna from Brazil, car number 12. An outstanding qualifier. He has won one race this year in Formula One. That was in Portugal. And again, some bad luck experienced by this young driver in the Lotus. He has only three other finishes: a 7th at San Marino, a 16th, and a 10th place finish. Now there is De Cesaris accident, which occurred earlier in the race, and it was a much more serious accident than what we had originally thought. The car actually overturning in midair before it landed on its wheels, and amazingly, De Cesaris immediately unbuckled and climbed out of that car. But what a spectacular accident that was.
That's an incredible accident. You see him just unbuckle his belt and run away. Now, you might ask yourself, well, how does a driver walk away from such an accident? The reason is, when the car flips through the air and lands and bounces again and flips again, it dissipates all the energy. Unlike a car that actually crashes straight into a wall, a car comes to a dead stop when it hits a wall. The Cesaris there bounces along the grass, and once nothing enters the cockpit, like broken suspension or a wheel flying, he can just simply step out and walk away.
Well, who better to talk about walking away, or actually not walking away, but at least not having serious injuries? There is the number 29 Minardi of Pierluigi Martini coming into the pit area. We saw that car smoking a few laps ago. Who better to talk about serious injuries than you, with your terrific accident at Michigan last year, in which the front half of the car was actually torn away, but yet you were back in a race car literally a few months later.
That's right. I'm still recuperating slightly, but ready now to go road racing.
Cars out of the race so far. De Cesaris in that accident that you saw a replay of just a few moments ago. Also out, the Ramhart of Philippe Alliot. K.K. Rosberg, who ran in second position for the first few laps, dropped out. Eddie Cheever, Gerhard Berger in the Arrows out of competition, and Niki Lauda in the McLaren dropping out while leading this event and giving the lead to his teammate Alain Prost. There is Michele Alboreto once again, who is running in third spot. Not too far behind him is his teammate Stefan Johansson.
Stefan Johansson is another man who's about to win a Grand Prix. Since he went to Ferrari, he's been extremely fast. He's tried to fit into their system of constant test sessions between the races. He ran very strong, actually led the Grand Prix of San Marino, was on the front row for the German Grand Prix, and people say that Johansson is another man who's going to stand on the #1 position on the roster very, very soon.
Stefan Johansson, the driver that Derek was talking about in car number 28. Johansson, 2 second-place finishes this year. And as you indicated, Eric, it's a matter of time before he can put together a win. There are the two Ferraris running in third and fourth position, Alboreto, followed by Johansson. So the Ferraris are going to do well here, both of them running in the top 4.
I think Ferrari reliability may win the World Championship for Alboreto, because he started off with second places, wins, second places, always reliable, and Ferrari reliability is legendary in Formula One. So that will probably be Alboreto's biggest help for during his quest for this year's championship.
Well, we talked about Jacques Lafitte just a little earlier, and now you can see that car, the Ligier, with the Renault engine, has moved into the pit area. Jacques Lafitte from France, one of the veterans on the Formula One circuit. Michele Alboreto, 5 career Formula One wins. Those wins came at Las Vegas in 1982, at Detroit in '83, in the Belgium Grand Prix in 1984, and 2 wins this year at Canada and in Germany. Speaking of Belgium, the Belgium Grand Prix, if you have not been keeping up on Formula One news, has been rescheduled for the 15th of the month of September. And there is Teo Fabi, who was going slowly on the track and now has his hand in the air and is about to enter the pit area. So it's been a long afternoon for Teo Fabi. He started this race in 6th position, ran in 6th for a while, then began to fall back, and the car is moving very slowly now through the final corner of this course. Fabi hopefully has enough momentum build up that will carry him into the pit area. There is the leader, Alain Prost. The Belgium Grand Prix will be held the weekend after the Italian Grand Prix from Monza that we will present live for you here on ESPN. Well, Alain doing quite well out there in the McLaren, keeping his distance over 2nd position Ayrton Senna. And now with 10 laps or so to go in this race, Prost may have his 4th win of 1985.
Interesting again, he's using the spare car. He has won many, many races with the spare car for the McLaren team. And I think that shows just the depth of professionalism in this McLaren team. Here we see Jacques Lafitte. It looks as if the left front suspension definitely doesn't look as if it's finished up the way it started. We can't actually see what he's hit, but he's definitely made contact with something.
He was in the pits just a few minutes ago, so this incident occurred just as he pulled out of the pits, apparently.
So here's Prost again in the spare car. A man that can jump out of his race car into the spare car and still win just shows how good the McLaren team is.
He jumped into the spare car earlier today because of a faulty CV joint in his primary car. And when we had the accident at the beginning of this Austrian Grand Prix, he and several other drivers brought out their backup cars. It's proving very successful for Alain because he is leading this event. And I'm sure there are several other drivers, not the least of whom is Michele Alboreto, who was glad that they decided that they would start the race completely over and allow backup cars to be used, because Alboreto, who is in the battle for the World Championship, was one of those drivers involved in the first lap incident, and Michele has brought out his backup car and is now in 3rd spot. There were no injuries, by the way, in that accident at the beginning of the Austrian Grand Prix. We're very happy to report that. Prost is the leader. We'll be right back. Back at the Austrian Grand Prix, Patrick Tambay from France in the Renault has just spun. We had noticed smoke coming from that car just before he did spin, so perhaps, Derek, there was oil that got on the rear tires of that car that caused him to spin. There you can see the engine smoking.
That's right. That smoke you see is burning oil onto his own rear tires. You see the flames underneath. It's also caught fire. So that's a situation where the car spins on its own oil, having blown the turbo.
This is in the final corner just before the straightaway and the start-finish line. Drivers are being warned that Tambay's car has spun and that they should look out for him. Meanwhile, here comes our leader, Alain Prost, making another lap. Senna running in 2nd position, and Michele Alboreto is in 3rd. Stefan Johansson still running 4th. Elio De Angelis is 5th, and Mark Schur in the Brabham is in 6th position.
També's engine blow really finishes another bad race for the Renault team. There has been rumors, the rumor mill has been going around here all day, but the rumors again are that the Renault Grand Prix team will cease to function at the end of this year because basically they just can't seem to manufacture a car themselves to be as competitive as the rest of them. And they've given their engines to people like Lotus and to Ligier and now to Tyrrell, and instantly the Lotus Renault is a front-running car and very competitive. So there is rumors in the rumor mill that the Renault Grand Prix team will not be in operation in 1986.
And we told you earlier that should that happen, Derek Warwick is rumored to be going to Lotus next year. That is, if several other things happen, including the alleged retirement of Niki Lauda. Alain Prost, the leader. Alain began his driving career in go-karts, graduated to Formula Renault and then Formula 3. He was the French and European go-karting champion, was also the French Formula Renault champion in 1976 and the European champion in 77.
Alles war im Griff, bin ganz normal gefahren. Das Rennen war also sicher zu gewinnen gewesen. Mit einem Schlag am anderen hatte ich keinen Ladedruck und damit ging der Motor nicht mehr.
Sein Konzept mit härteren Reifen zu fahren ist also voll aufgegangen.
These, of course, are the live pictures from Austria.
And we are allowing the audio continue for those of you who do speak German and can understand what Niki is saying. He's explaining why he dropped out of the race while leading.
Ja. Bis auf die zweite Runde, da hattest du in der LAS-Schikane einen fürchterlichen Quersteher. Was war da?
Ich hatte zu viel Bremsen hinten und habe dann im Rennen ein paar Runden gebraucht, bis ich das wieder eingestellt gehabt habe und dann ging es auch normal. Mir ist das sogar zweimal da oben passiert.
Schade, es wäre der zweite Heimatkick gewesen. Ich finde das ja ganz fantastisch, dass du, obwohl du deinen Rücktritt bekannt gibst, weißt, es geht nur mehr 6 Rennen, noch diese Motivation aufbringst, um hier an der Spitze und mit einem solchen Mann wie Prost um den Sieg. Wie macht man das?
Ja, ich bin natürlich motiviert, die Saison heuer fertig zu fahren. Ich wollte sicher den Österreich Grand Prix gewinnen. Ich werde versuchen, noch ein paar Rennen zu gewinnen, aber mir wird es langsam Fahrt.
While we listen to the Niki Lauda interview, we can tell you that we are on the final lap of this race. We are, of course, at the discretion of world television because ESPN takes the world feed and we have no control over what happens, and that's why we have these interviews dropped in every now and then. And not only are we unaware that they are coming, but they are done very often in a foreign language.
Obviously, with Lauda being the hometown boy and the big favorite, anybody that can get an interview with him, they stretch it for as long as possible also, hence not only one question, but 2, 3, and 4.
A blown turbocharger, we are told. Somebody out there in television land was able to translate the language that Niki is speaking, and a blown turbocharger is the reason that Lauda dropped out of the race. So it's another DNF for Niki Lauda, and his very poor year in 1985 continues here at the German Grand Prix. He'll try to get things on course once again next Sunday afternoon for the Dutch Grand Prix, which will be in Zandvoort, the Netherlands, and yours truly and John Bizignano will be there to describe all the action for you next Sunday. What about the Zandvoort racetrack, Derek? What do you remember about it?
It has got possibly one of the most exciting corners in Grand Prix racing, being Tarzan Corner at the end of the long front straightaway. And it's a corner where regularly you see Formula One cars racing 2 abreast, which is an unusual sight nowadays in Formula One. I've had some good finishes there. The position of the circuit being so near the sea makes it uncomfortable for people like yourselves who have to go and work there, but I'm sure you'll suffer through a trip to Europe.
I think I can handle staying in Europe for a while. Prost on the last lap. You saw a shot there just a few seconds ago of Ayrton Senna in the Lotus, car number 12. He is in second position. It's going to tighten up the points battle, Derek, because Prost, who was in second, is going to come off with the win here this afternoon. And Alboreto, who is the points leader, if things finish the way they are right now, is running in third position. So this World Championship battle is really going to tighten up.
That's right. Anything can happen in racing, but as Prost says several races ago, the World Championship is between himself and Alboreto, and for sure this race just underlines that fact, because really I can't see any team coming on strong enough to challenge these two at the moment. And I think the type of races that are left, the McLaren and the Ferrari, will remain dominant.
One would think that the Lotuses perhaps could challenge, and I think it's just, again, a series of bad luck for DeAngelis and Senna that have kept him out of a battle for the World Championship. Senna's performance especially.
That's right.
Here comes Alain Prost off of the final corner, and the checkered flag waves. The race is over, and Alain Prost from France has won the 1985 Austrian Grand Prix. And here comes Ayrton Senna in the Lotus, and he is on his way to a second-place finish.
That's a good finish for Senna, starting 14th to come through the field like he did, because especially for him, for his confidence, he's had such an unreliable run since he won the Grand Prix of Portugal. So to see him finish second here really is a good boost for him and for the team.
There, the checker drops for Ayrton. Right behind him is Michele Alboreto. Alboreto finishes in third spot. And the other Ferrari, driven by Stefan Johansson, is going to come home in fourth spot. There we focus in on Michele Alboreto, who has finished third in this Austrian Grand Prix.
The drivers must be fairly confident that the cars are going to pass the weight limit after this race, because nobody has pulled off, which is almost an unusual sight now. Usually you see the first 3 or 4 cars pull straight off the track and not do this final cool down lap.
I was expecting Alain to, as you indicated, brake heavily and pull into the pits after crossing the line, but he did not. He's taking this cool-off lap. And let's hope that Alain doesn't get into a situation that he did earlier in the year at San Marino when the car was disqualified because of underweight. Alain Prost has won the Austrian Grand Prix. Finishing in second was Senna, third was Alboreto. We'll be back with closing comments after this. Well, there are the unofficial results of the 1985 Austrian Grand Prix. From Oostenrijk-Ring, there's Zeltweg. The winner, Alain Prost. Ayrton Senna second, then Alboreto, Johansson, DeAngelis, and Schur. The race got off to a very precarious start originally when we had an accident. It was red flagged. We had a restart. At that point, Prost went into the lead with K.K. Rosberg running in second spot. But then Rosberg dropped out of the race very early, leaving it to a battle of the McLarens. Prost led until he came in for a pit stop. Then Niki Lauda took over the lead, and he led until the turbocharger blew. That gave the lead back to Alain Prost, and Prost led the rest of the way. Performances, good performances this afternoon by Ayrton Senna, who started in 14th position and finished second, and Michele Alboreto in the Ferrari, who started 9th, was one of those involved in the original accident, jumped into his spare car and came home third. And a good performance by Stefan Johansson in the other Ferrari, who started 12th in this race and finished in 4th position. There is Johansson right there, as a matter of fact, walking, and Michele Alboreto is in the back of that truck getting a ride to the pit area. Back with more closing comments from Austria after this. There are the first 3 finishers. Prost, of course, in the middle, indicating his win. To our left is Ayrton Senna, and to our right, Michele Alboreto. Derek, your thoughts on today's Austrian Grand Prix?
Very good performance by the man they call the Professor, Alain Prost, known as the Professor by his peers in racing. Reliable run by Alboreto, which could be the determining factor in his World Championship chase, and Senna back where he should be on the winner's podium.
And a big smile from Ayrton Senna's face, and it's his 5th finish of 1985. Well, next Sunday at 8:50 Eastern Time, yours truly and John Bizignano in Zandvoort, the Netherlands, for the Dutch Grand Prix, as our coverage of Formula One racing continues here on ESPN. The Busch 500 from Bristol, Tennessee will be presented live on Saturday, August 24th at 7:30 p.m. as we present the first time a live NASCAR race in prime time. Larry Nuber and Jack Arute for that race. And then later on Labor Day weekend, the big Southern 500 from Darlington, South Carolina, in which Bill Elliott can win $1 million if he wins the race. Later today at 8 o'clock Eastern Daylight Time, Larry Nuber, Jack Arute, and Gary Lee with same-day coverage of the IndyCar race, the Domino's Pizza 500 from Pocono International Raceway in Pennsylvania. My thanks to Derek Daly for his analysis of this race. We'll talk to you next week from the Netherlands. This is Bob Jenkins. Thanks for joining us. So long, everyone. Today's Austrian Grand Prix is brought to you by Chevrolet, who invite you to see today's Chevy, drive today's Chevy, live today's Chevy.